Whoa! Welcome back to the rise of the green tide. Have I been overtaken by Gork and Mork? My predictions are coming true. Now, boys, let's take a look at what's going on with the new meta wall. All right, guys. As you remember, we've been talking about what upcoming units maybe starting being presented after the post data slate. And so right now we're going to start with just going over our general stats, as I always like to do. I'm using 40K Meta Monday right now, as we don't have too many weeks in. I can still reference just about everything right here. So right away, you can see we only have 52 players, something I wanted to point out. If you look at some, Tyranids is at 64, but they're the faction of the edition right now. I got 83, 71 with Tau. We're pretty low overall as a faction, I would say. A little disappointing, but that's okay. Well, we are sitting at a 56% win rate and a 53% win rate in the last 3 weeks. So the rise of the green tide has started, as we predicted here. So that's always good to see. On top of that, we're going to be going over 3 GT lists, but I wanted to get this tournament out of the way, essentially. This is the Chesick Buccaneers Open. This was in Sweden, I believe. You had to go to Tourney Keeper. I'm not going to go through all his matchups on this one. I just wanted to show you guys the list. And then from here, we'll go back to BCP. But he won all his games. He got first place at this event in Sweden. You can check it up on 40K stats as well. Here's his list. So we had a Beast Boss on Squigglesword with Edwap as Kill Chopper, Big Mac and Mega Armor, Captain Badrock, Mazrog, Wars Boss, Follow Me Lads, 2 Trucks, a Def Copter, shout out Happy Cruppin, Flash Gits, Grots, Commandos, Mega Nobz, a big unit, Nobz, 10-man unit, two small units of Squighog Boys, and 2 units of Storm Boys. So right here, guys, you can see the Mega Nobz are being introduced. We got now Def Copters, interesting enough, being introduced. Nobz are going to be all over the place now in the meta. You're going to see, guys, and we'll be talking about that. But I wanted to show this list real quick so you can have an understanding before we go back to our typical BCP style. So here we're going to go with the Moab. That was the name of the event. We're going to start with Brad Milliner. So Brad ended up bringing, this is his list. Oops, sorry from the bottom. So interesting enough, this looks a little similar, but not the same to other lists we've seen. But this is a beast snagger list through and through. So we got Zod Wartsnag is back, right? We haven't seen him in a while. Beast Boss on foot with Super Cyborg Body. Beast Boss with Edwap as Kill Chopper. Nob on Smash a Squig. War Boss with no enhancements. 2 units of Beast Snaggers. 3 units of Gretchen. 1 unit of Commandos again. So Commandos making their way in. We got a actual 5-man unit of Nobz still with Power Claws though. A unit of Storm Boys. 1 big unit of Squighog Boys right there. 2 we got a kill rig, and then we got a kill tank is why I wanted to show this list. So this is a mixture of doing great and still being my pick for flavor of the week. And then 2 trucks. So here we are with a kill tank, right? If you guys know what that is, it's a big Forge World tank, maybe about bigger than a fat rhino, and around a Beyblade size, very big. Strength 12, I believe, -2, flat 3 damage, or strength 14, 3d6. We have the kill rig. I always talk about the kill rig being a multi-purpose tool, as it can work in many phases. It buffs, it shoots, it fights, it does great charges, it transports. Then, of course, 1 big unit of Beast Squighog Boys. I love that. The Commandos. So the Commandos, I can see them being introduced to stop you from getting move blocked. That's something that I'd happened to notice is when people have infiltrating units, they can just start to move block you. You see the Tyranids, you see Nurglings. Now you're going to see with Space Marines. Factions are going to be able to infiltrate and start move blocking us with our big kill tanks, with our tanks, kill rigs, Squighog Boys. So you can see he possibly brought these Commandos just to stop people from doing it to him, not necessarily to give pressure. 2 units of Beast Snagger Boys because we love the strength, and then I love the Beast Boss personally with the Beast Snagger Boys. If I have the points left over, I'm not sure if I'd put him with the Feel No Pain. I like it on the War Boss, but overall, he did good. So let's take a look at some of his matchups real quick. And then after I look at his list, I'll look at chat, so you gotta catch up. Don't worry, I just want that to build up a bit before I get lost in the sauce, in the wool ball sauce. So this, keep in mind, this is a Squighog Beast Snagger mixed list with the kill tank. Really cool. So his first matchup, we got Demons, Be'lakor. Be'lakor is pretty much anti-shooting, so that would have been a little annoying for the kill tank. Edemius, the Great Unclean One, okay, with Endless Glyph. I believe this is the 4 at Feel No Pain enhancement. Orotagus, and then a Skull Taker, and Slice. I can't even read that. Slacks. Make fun of me. It's fine. The Changeling, 1 unit of Bloodletters, 1 unit of Demonettes, 1 unit of Nurglings, Plague Bearers, Plague Drones, the Seeker Chariot, and a Skull Cannon. So that's a bit of a different list. It does have some killing potential from Khorne. It has that holding the line, getting buffs from the Great Unclean One. Eroticus gives the Great Unclean One the ability to do more damage to a unit. And then the Plague Flies actually allow him, if they shoot at you, they allow you to reroll wounds with Plague units. Of course, we know Nurgling can infiltrate, also give you -1 to hit. And then the Bloodletters are coming from the outflanking kind of deep strike shenanigans that they can get reliably done to you. Brad did pull that out with an 89-point win. You can see in the corner right there. We'll move on to his next game. So against demons, obviously beast snaggers are going to do fine. He can take over the board and fight pretty good. So this is his tie. He didn't lose this game. He didn't lose any games, but he did tie this game, which Vanguard Onslaught. I find that to be interesting, and I've played against it, and now I know why it's interesting. So we have the Death Leaper, Nero Tyrants, Winged Hive Tyrant. Winged Hive Tyrant, I would say he's less common, but when you're playing the Vanguard Onslaught, I can see him coming to become some utility, right? You get the Gargoyles for the hypothetical double movement or just great mobility as a whole. Termagants, 1 unit of Biovores for the nice cheeky secondary scoring. 2 units of Gene Stealers. Like I said, most of the time you wouldn't see these kind of units, but because he's playing Vanguard Onslaught allows you to come in 1 turn early from whatever your reserve abilities would be. 2 units of Lictors, 3 Molochs, right? So obviously, as I just said, he can even, with some of these units, he wants to come in as close as possible, get turn 1 charges if he can, harass you, keep you on your side of the board, even if you are going to chew through him and kill him. You get 2 Neurolictors, great value for those. 3 units of Ripper Swarms, very annoying. Can act as move blocking for us or just kind of standing in certain spots that they need them. And then 2 Trigons. So this is just straight up different, right? In other tier in his list, you'll see Exocrines, you'll see Maliceptors, you'll see a Norn, right? On this list, don't see any of that. You can see this is just straight him trying to apply pressure to whoever he's playing with, probably get fixed secondaries, try to get behind enemy lines, maybe cleanse or something, try to get some other kind of reliable secondaries, and then just hold 1 spot. So that I can see how that was ended up being, because this is similar to the point scoring I had. And yeah, I can see that just being interesting, difficult matchup based off who went first, if he got any crazy charges. But overall, that was his 1 draw, not a loss. But he did make a comeback here with the Big Hair Squad. So this is, I believe, the mixture Eldar list. Okay, so he has the Death Jester, Yinkarn, Yavrin, you like that? Corsair Void Reavers, the Star Weaver, Falcon, Fire Dragons, okay, Swooping Hawks, a troop of Harlequins, and then you can see here he has Archeon, Beastmaster, Kabalite Warriors, Lilith, Mandrakes, Ravengers, Scourges, 2 Venoms, and some Witches. So not the most meta. I'm sure he had a way to play a lot of small units trying to take over the board and score. We've seen these units do these Dark Eldar start to kind of perform because they have so many units. But he put up 100 points on that list. So let's go to his 4th matchup. T-Suns. So T-Suns seem to always be at least a good fight for the Orks, even if the Orks do end up pulling it out, or even if the T-Suns pour it out. But we'll see. We got Armin here, Exalted Sorcerer on disc, Infernal Master, Magnus, 1,000 Sun Sorcerers, 1,000 Sorcerers. These lists aren't changing very much. Even after the point status slate changes, they're looking the same, right? We have 1 big unit of Rubric Marines with the Warp Flamers, a small unit with Warp Flamers, another one with Warp Flamers, and another small one. So 4 units, 3 of them are small units. 1 Rhino, 2 Mutalix Vortex Beasts, I love those, and the Zangoran Lighten. Pretty standard T-Suns list. Has your tools, has your flamers, has your Mutalist. Vortex Beast is just trying to lay down the hate. But he did end up, I believe, getting an 80. Yep, he ended up getting an AV, winning that one. And then last but not least, his final matchup is Chaos Nice Soup. It says Soups, but it's really not that many allies. So we got Knights Rampager, War Dog Stalker. Then we have the Brigand, 1, 2, 3, 4 brigands. These have the chain of cannons, 24-inch meltas, as well as their other arm. Remember, these guys are pretty efficient overall. They have volume of shooting, they have anti-tank shooting, they have 8 OC, a little bit of durability, when you're talking about Orks being T10 and stuff. But going into beast snaggers, they're going to be fine. And then we got 3 carnivores, Yep, 3 carnivores, flesh hounds, 1 unit, 2 units of nurglings, and a blue squire. So that's just a different outlook, but not super crazy hard list or not a bad list. It's just a solid list overall that he had to go into. But he did put up 95 points, so he made it put him in the nail in that coffin. So great job to Brad Milliner. Remember, let's take a list. That was not his list. Oops, that was not his list either. And here is his list. So yeah, this was his list. Sorry, I don't know what the heck. Like we said, he had Zagrot Wartsnagger, Beast Boss on the Squiggle Store with Choppa, 1 Knob on Smasher Squig with Follow Me Lads, War Boss, no enhancement, Beast Snagger Boys, 3 units of Gretchen, 1 unit of Commandos, Nobz, Storm Boys, big unit of Squig Hogs, Kill Rig, Kill Tank, 2 trucks. Boom. Excellent. Really enjoyed that list. It was pretty much my flavor pick, but I still it did great as well, obviously. So shout out to you. This is the next one we're gonna go over. And I'll take a look at chat real quick. Here's his list. You guys can peep at the top of it while I look at your chats. All right, let me see how many WAAAGHs I got. Oh, no, I'm just kidding. I'm not gonna WAAAGH that much. All right. Whoa, I lied. All right. Let's see. That I love our flash gets 4 attacks after the shooting the heck out of everything. Exactly. And then if you're going to infantry and you got Captain Badrock, he has his aura for -1 toughness. So great job there. Love that shout out. Energy 4. Whoa, Orktober. Exactly, guys. Exactly. Here we go. Good seeing the kill rigs in the list. People are putting down on them at the start of 10th. Yes. I think they were at a bit of a premium. I will say that. But as soon as they went down, people were very aware that kill rigs are just a multi-phase, multi-purpose unit that you're going to get efficiency out of as long as it doesn't get shot off the table turn 1. Because it can transport, it can buff, it can shoot, and it can fight. So it's great in almost just about every phase. You can even do kill tank shock, get mortal wounds out of it. Kill rigs, are awesome. And kill tanks are decent too. You just can't rely on the shooting nearly as much as you'd want to, right? Whoa! Okay, take a peep there. How long before Codex creeps becomes an issue, do you think? Oh, that's an interesting one. You never at the current rate of how everything's going, GW is doing a moderately good job at making things not too OP. And none of our predators are soon to be getting that Codex kind of creep power up. They don't have a Codex. That being said, I would say once about 7 books come out, you should be pretty reasonable to start expecting there to be a Codex creep. When half people do and half the people don't to a certain extent, those guys are going to end up just fighting with each other. So I still think, we get 2 more books. I believe the next ones are like Admech and I forgot who else. Maybe we get 2 more after that. We're going to start smelling it. And then right after that, it's all, Codex creep's going to be real. So that's just my opinion, but it's totally a possible opinion. Whoa! All right. And guys, I'm going to be going over the lists are great. I like that we're seeing new things in the meta overall. It's not just straight beast snaggers. I just wanted to start with that list because it had the kill tanks and the kill rig. It was fun to see. You will, of course, see certain beast snagger type characters. As you can see, WAAAGH is very popular, but they're not on every list. They're not the core of every list. They're not the sum of every list. People are starting to move over to other interesting matchups and units. So let's take a look at this. We have the Heretic. And I can't even read that. I'm not going to read that. Okay. Beast Boss on Squiggle Sword, Red Weapons, Kill Chop, WAAAGH Scrag Bag, Knob on Smash Squig, War Bosses, Follow Me Lads, followed by another War Boss, followed by another War Boss. Triple War Bosses. I personally love that. I love War Bosses. And then we got Zod Wartsnagger again, right? So you got another unit. Grots, go out there and get their scout maneuver, run up the board, start touching people. If you don't have commandos, if you have commandos like we see on the other list, you can do it with both. And that could really stop people from stuffing you in your own deployment zone. We have boys, and then 3 trucks, 3 units of Gretchen on this list as well, 1 unit of Nobz with Power Claws, 2 bricks of Squig Hog Boys, and 1 unit of Storm Boys. So what does that mean? That means these trucks are for boys, 10-man unit with the War Boss. Boom. This guy decided, hey, man, the War Boss on his own, cheap enough to throw in a boys unit and make that boys unit an actual threat. And it's true. You can get them hitting on 2s. Volume is an issue in itself. That Knob becomes kind of reliable in the unit. The War Boss himself is going to be fighting for a while. Overall, I think it's a really fun tech piece. He did get 8th place, as you can see out here, did overall pretty well. And we're going to look at his matchups. So we're going to go through it quickly. I want to make sure I don't spend too much time on the list that I don't know exactly what happened in their games, but it's still fun to look at everything. So his first matchup was Imperial Knights. Still have Canis Rex. He's still great in my opinion. Knight Castellan, a Paladin. We got Arbingers, Warglaive, two Warglaives. So he just bought some Big Knights. He has the Canis Rex to be more reliable in the damage, everything like that. Overall, Orks do quite well into Knights. At the moment, they got rid of Titanic, Towering type things. Sorry, the Towering keywords were kind of nerf them along the whole way. It did end up helping us because they were one of our hardest matchups. They still can give us issues, but as a whole, when you start playing the competitive level, you know what they're trying to do and you know how to stop them. We do have tools when you're bringing a Beast Boss with Edwab's Kill Chopper, Maz Rock, Squig Hog Boy Bricks. You can handle that. His second matchup was Astra Militarum. So Astra Militarum is one of those armies that's kind of looked over sometimes. It really comes down to how did they build their list. So we'll look at the list real quick. We got Gaunt's Ghost. I don't know if that's the best competitively. If someone knows, let me know. I don't think it is though, but I know Leontis is. Regimental Engineer, Tank Commander, Ursula Creed. A bit more characters than I would personally like to see on this kind of list. We got Catachan Jungle Fighters, 1 unit of infantry. We have a 2-man, 3 Manticores. Okay, we're getting the fire right here. 2 Rogue Dorn battle tanks on top of the fact that you already have 2 tank commanders. 1 unit of Scout Sentinels and Lord Inquisitor Drexus. She's totally fine as well. I think the one thing this list is missing, cut down on one of those tank commanders, throw in Sentinels, maybe even engines here, and you would get a bit more efficiency out of this. There's not a lot of good regenning options on that list for that guard player. But he did end up putting up a 20 perfect score on them. And we'll go into his third matchup. So his third matchup was some more demons that are trying to stop themselves from getting shot. So we got Be'lakor, Bloodthirster, Lord of Change, Red Master's Blood Throne. This guy's actually pretty dope if you guys want to look him up at some point. He pretty good fighting. He's kind of like a really killy coring chariot. 2 units of Nurglings, Plague Bearers, Blood Crushers. Like I said, with Blood Crushers, they are about the equivalent of a Squig Hog Boy unit in many ways. They have a 4-up invuln. They're like 4 wounds instead of 3. They have a guy and then a mount, but the difference is they do mortal wounds on the charge instead of having a bomb. They're pretty reliable for their mortal wounds, but their damage potential isn't as good as I think the mount is doing only 1 damage. The Burning Chariot, followed by 2 Brigands. Okay, so this guy came to play. When you have Be'lakor, Bloodthirster, Lord of Change, and Red Master's Throne, a little bit of kind of stopping with the Nurglings so you can kind of infiltrate and get on people's nerves, and then the Blood Crushers. Blood Crushers actually deep strike as well, so they can come in and get some reliable charges off on you sometimes, and they can hurt considering they do mortal wounds, but he did put up 20 points into that. As we've seen, he does have a good amount of Beast Snagger units and such. As we're going to see, and it's been proven throughout the edition and everything that we know of, if we're talking about simplicity and what's going to be good, just straight up stat point for point in the Orc Index, there's no question that currently most games and matchups will be favored if you're using Squig Hog Boys. Boom. If you're using big bricks of them and you're using the characters with enhancements, I'm aware of that. We're still seeing that, and that's why I wanted to keep showing that, but that's not the only thing being used. As we've seen in the prior, some of the other lists that we've shown and other lists that we'll show here, like the very first list that I can go back to. But still did a great job there. But don't be disheartened if you're not playing with Beast Snagger Boys. So his fourth matchup was T-Sons. So let's see if it's anything different. We have Arman on disc, Red Magnus the Red, Exalted Sorcerer, Exalted Sorcerer on disc of Zeech, Exalted Sorcerer on disc of Zeech. Infernal Master. Okay. You don't always see these discs on disc, guys. So maybe you just had the points, need mobility. I'm not sure. Big unit with Warp Flamers. Small unit with Warp Flamers. Another small unit with Warp Flamers. Another small unit with Warp Flamers. Yep. So just a couple more units. Actually, just 1 more unit, but still has that 1 big brick followed by some small units. Zangor Enlightened and then Rhinos. So he doesn't have the... Yeah, he doesn't have the Mutalisk Vortex Beast from we can see. I can see that being an issue overall, in my opinion. But he did end up putting up an okay fight. He was limited to 6 points, Max was. But let's look into his 1 loss. So his 1 loss was against Fred Atol with Eldarm, right? Ooh, Eldarm. So we got the Artark Wayleaper, Farseer, Funigan. I actually don't know who this guy is. Now I have to look him up now. Spear. I missed him the first time through. Spearseer, the Yinkarn, the Night Spinner, support weapons, warp spiders, and then Wraithguard. So interesting. Okay. I want to know what this guy does. Okay. But this is looking. We have Night Spinners now that are being introduced a little bit more. Still have one big unit of warp spiders and then the Wraithguard. We know as the Orc player as a whole, if you see Wraithguard on the table, yes, they're hard. Yes, they're a problem. But Nobz can be used as a tool to try to scalpel out that enemy unit if it becomes a problem. So I'm going to get rid of some of these lists. And as you can see, he does have the Nobz with Follow Me Lads. So possibly they got shot or taken away from this list. Or when he jumped in, he just ended up bouncing. That happens too. I would have been a bit surprised if you told me he would have only put up 1 point. I would like to see what the mission is. But we know Eldar are just hard in general. So a great job, but it happens, right? So we have, and then he follows up with another game into Eldar, and he does win this one, which is what the interesting part is, right? So we have Artark Wayleaper, Farseer, Skyrunner, Funigan? Finnegan. No, I'm just kidding. We're going to just call him that. It's now back on the list. I got to know who that guy is. Spearseer, the Incarn, Night Spinner, Shadow Specters, Swooping Hawks, Warp Spiders, another big unit of Wraithguard, but they have the Wraith Cannons, followed by a Wraith Lord. So he's kind of like a Dreadnought if you guys haven't seen him before. He's totally fine. Interesting to see the Wraith Guard with the cannons. Definitely more in favor of the melee ones. Don't think you really need that on the Eldar list in the way that he was using it. But Max just bounced right back and just demolished them, probably being more familiar with their rules, being gone right into them the game prior. I'm sure he was ready for the shenanigans, and he made his return. Ended up dusting them. So great job. This is the kind of list where you can see Nobz being very important as well, because once you have 2 units of Beast Snagger Squighog Boys, you need something with Power Claws, that additional AP to get out and be reliable. That's also why you probably paid the premium for Follow Me Lads. And just having boys with the War Boss means they're going to start winning some skirmishes, putting reliable volume attacks into people, and then Wart Snagger will stop you from getting stuffed in your deployment zone, walk out into the middle of the board maybe. I like to see that more people are using him. He made a comeback. He's starting to be used all over again, right? And that's something we've seen earlier in the edition when we thought Grots were T5. But now that's not the case, and people are still finding a way to use them again. And like I said, it's because people do not want to be stuffed in their own deployment zones. That's really what I'm starting to see from this. Let me look at the chats real quick again before I move to the last list. There's also more Mega Nobz. Says, when making an invuln for Gaz and Makari is still alive, do I roll for Makari's invul until he dies? And what about when the bodyguards are still alive? So do it first. You do the bodyguards first, regardless, unless Gaz is being precisioned. If he's being precisioned, you do it on Makari until Makari dies. If Makari makes all the saves, and then you take the dev wounds at the end, then Makari takes the first dev wound from that, and then Gaz would start taking them after that. So regardless, Makari goes first for all of the damage if it's going directly into your Gaz unit. If you have bodyguards in that unit, it goes to the bodyguards fully until they're all dead, okay? Then Makari starts taking them until he dies. And if the person rolls dev wounds, doesn't mean Makari's automatically dead. He still makes his saves. Dev wounds come at the end, okay? So Makari's, yes, you do what we would call slow roll that, okay? And it's important. Slow rolls are important in 40K when you're playing competitively. Whoa, for the Orc boy. Oh, let me see. Oh, thank you. So Gaunt's Ghosts are very competitive. They can loan out, fight first with some decent attacks, but at the end, opponents, they can go back into reserve very, very strong for secondaries. Okay, that's very cool. I really like that. People like that as well. I still would think on that list would be much helpful if they had regenerating Scout Sentinels or Armored Sentinels, probably Armored Sentinels, for the fact that you get all game long worth of those Hunter Killer Missiles. So here is, but thank you for filling me in, just so we know. So here's one of the last lists we'll be showing you. Yes, he's a little bit lower, but it's okay. He did the best of all the Orc players at this event. And it's a lot of games, as you can see here. So very, very competitive, deep pool. And his list was different. So let's look at his list. Another Mega Nobz making an appearance again. And I wanted to show you guys that because we talked about Mega Nobz several times. Are they going to make it in here? Are Kill Rig's going to make it? What's going to happen? Are Beast Snaggers going to control the whole meta? They are the forefront of the meta, but they're not the whole meta. So we have Big Mech in Mega Armor with Super Cyborg Body, followed by another Big Mech in Mega Armor, followed by another Big Mech in Mega Armor. So that's triple Big Mechs in Mega Armor. course, you still got WAAAGH, because having WAAAGH just for his durability and utility is amazing. And then Nobz Smashes Squig. I think I would run, just saying off the bat, maybe I'm biased, this is similar to what I would run if I started to incorporate Mega Nobz, but I wouldn't use as many Mega Nobz in Mega Armor to beat Big Max and Mega Armor, in my opinion. But I do like having at least one unit of Nobz Smashes Squig with the big unit, WAAAGH, War Boss, and a couple, maybe two different kind of War Boss for Mega Nobz type units. Follow me, lads, of course, because you need that. When that Nob unit comes out, guys, we call that the scalpel unit around here, okay? We've been calling it that since the beginning of the edition. When the Nobz and the War Boss come out to play, it's time to do work. You need to reliably get into combat and deliver that big high volume -2 AP damage attacks. If you're bringing out the Nobz because you have a problematic unit that you need to get rid of. And a lot of the time, it does end up being an Armor of Contempt type unit that has a base 2 up save, or just a unit you really need to kill with high volume because of whatever problem it is. So you see people still willing to pay for that premium of Follow Me, lads. That's why when the data slate and the points got decreased, it was helpful to that unit. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4 trucks. And another interesting tech piece, 2, not 1, but 2 big units of Burner Boys. So Burner Boys are making their way. You see people trying to move block you. They get these annoying, maybe little like Lictor type characters, and you get close to them. You know, I'm just going to flame you and hold my spot or something. Get rid of some other enemy units, pedally units that are in your way. You don't want to disembark and fight them and then get shot away. Just get rid of them with your flamers while you're in the truck. I really like to see that. Here are the units of Mega Nobz. Boom. We got 1 kill saw and the combi weapon, most likely because the Big Mac allows you to reroll 1, so he was maybe looking for some dev wounds or something from that shooting coming from there. And then we have the big unit of Nobz, what I call a scalpel unit, followed by 1 brick of Squig Boys. So this is similar to what I would run, probably -1 big unit of Mega Nobz, -1 of those big characters. And I was never considering, to be honest, running 2 big units of Burner Boys, and he went over the top and decided I'm using a custom Mega Blaster. I prefer the Rocket because I don't need him dying, but hey, he wants the volume and doesn't care. Love to see it. So this was another flavorful, interesting list, but let's look at some of his matchups because he has plenty of them. All right. Cody Day. Going into Dark Brandon. So we have Abaddon the Desployer, the Dark Commune, followed by Cultist, Rhino, Cultist, Accursed Cultist, sorry. What is this, a big unit? Yeah. Then we got Chaos Terminators, a small unit. Chosen. Okay, see you, Chosen. Forge Fiend, another Forge Fiend. Obliterators. Warp Talons. Okay, Warp Talons. Warp Talons for 100 points are actually acceptable cost. Not terrible, but acceptable cost, okay? Obliterators, if you guys all know, and they have the Mark of Nurgle, so they can't be shot reliably. And then they have their once per game they can indirect. Very good volume of attacks. Abaddon helps make these Forge Fiends reliable, and their Marker Nurgle too. So this guy's pretty much kitted out, and he has Khorne, the Chosen, so that he can get more reliable Khorne fighting, possibly fighting death. A Terminator Squad, Undivided, of course. Just 1 Rhino. And then a Mom, the Dark Commune. Okay, and Abaddon. Abaddon is just helping Chaos Marines become a very, very reliable gun line shooting platform. Either way, Cody put 96 points up. I believe that unit just doesn't have enough threats to keep Orks off them once they close the distance. And even, you know, Abaddon's a beat stick himself, but when you kill everything else in the army, they're just going to kind of fall away. So I can see how he ended up winning that game, but good job either way. We have Tau. Now we have Commander Farsight, Commander Shadow Sun, Commander in Cold Star Battlesuit, Commander in Cold Star Battlesuit. Breacher team. 2 units of Devilfish, a big unit of Crisis Suits, another large unit of Crisis Suits, 2 units of Crew Hounds, 3 Piranhas, excuse me, and 2 units of Stealth Suits, followed by 2 units of Tetras. Okay, so this is a very common. You got the Stealth Suits to infiltrate. You got the Piranhas just for 55 points of just little gun platforms, really great. Crew Hounds to move around. He got a lot of pieces to play the board. The big units of Crisis Battle Suits for doing damage. The Devilfish, little dudes to go in the transports. So overall, this is a very, what is known to be a competitive Tau list, right? And this was actually one of the reasons why I was assuming Mega Nobz might matter, because you're going to getting so much more of these gun units that are looking around for your small targets to cut angles on them and get rid of them as they can. to stop you from actually being able to play the game and killing you too quickly at range before you close the distance, and then they have to deal with your entire army. They want to selectively run around the table and end up shooting at you. And as we see, he has all this pretty much anti-shooting units, with Mega Nobz having great armor save, with this only one unit of smash the squigs that he can end up squig hog boys that he can end up making hard as nails or just hide them as he can. And then he has transports, which means you have to pop these annoying transports. Then you have to actually get line of sight to actually shoot those guys. And then so as a whole, not that I'm saying I predict these things, but that was actually one of the reasons why I did assume we have a chance at favoring Mega Nobz nowadays. And that's why I really like to see that he did so great into Tau. I wouldn't know if it's just because of that, but that's one thing I'm hoping and I'm assuming. As I would like to see Mega Nobz just become more viable as a whole. That's why I hope it. Now we look at his third game. This is a game he did end up losing, but let's see what he lost to. So, Imperial Knights. So, as we said before, technically, Orks don't always have a bad matchup into this. We did at the beginning of the edition. If you're bringing all beast snaggers, sure, you can just wound it great, run it down, be fast enough, everything like that. On the other hand, if you're bringing kill saws, but you're not bringing, right, if we look at his Mega Nobz, if you're not bringing the twin kill saws for re-rolling wounds, now, when you go into Knights, you don't have as much reliable damage anymore. You are kind of lacking because we had redundancy on the other list. If you had a Beast Boss and Squigosaur, we had WAAAGH, and we had multiple units of Squig Hog Boys that are bricks. Each one of those bricks can tear one down, such like that. On this list, he could choose to kill the Squig Hog Boys as he could, and then the Mega Nobz, there's a chance that he could just take the damage from them because they're only low amount of attacks, and they're low damage relevantly for the amount of attacks they get. So you can see he ended up kind of taking that win on against that unit. And I can see in response to why this army ends up having the AP and the multi-damage firepower that you would need. Of course, he has these couple of assassins that maybe helped him play the mission, inquisitorial henchmen. But as a whole, that's on the opposite side of that spectrum, right? If you're talking about small arms fire from Tau, maybe Leagues of Voltan to an extent, Mega Nobz are becoming interesting. Oh, okay, I can start taking more armor saves. Maybe Space Marines as they start to change their detachments. Okay, I get better armor saves. You're trying to kill my small scoring units. I can counter that by being in trucks and then having a great armor save outside of it with a decent toughness. Yes, until you start going into maybe Imperial Knights, where they're built to have great anti-tank weapons, multi-damage weapons, and your Mega Nobz can't reliably tear them down in response, especially if you don't have the twin kill saws. But even then, you don't really get enough attacks unless it's a WAAAGH. So as a whole, it's interesting how that becomes a challenging matchup. Now let's go into his fourth game. His fourth game was a mirror match into Orks. And this is what we're talking about as a opposite spectrum Ork kind of meta list. So we have a Beast Boss. Love my Beast Boss. Captain Badrug. Mazrog Cragbag. War Boss. 3 units of Beast Snagger Boys. 3 trucks. Flash Skits. 2 units of Gretchen. 1 unit of Nobz with Power Claws. 1 big unit of Squig Hog Boys, followed by 2 small units, followed by 2 units of Storm Boys. This is a very similar list to what I would run. This actually looks like the kind of list I did run actually at the event. At the GT I went to, besides so many Beast Snagger Boys. Brad Chester runs something similar to this sometimes. This is what would be considered a very kind of common meta list. And he put up 97 points into that. Interestingly enough, Mega Nobz are pretty durable into Orks as well, especially when you're not talking about the Squig Hog Boys with their high volume attack. But you can get them hard as nails, have a great armor saves, and then over time you do erode them too. And you still have the trucks, you still have similar kind of units that you can kind of exchange and fight with. So interesting that Cody Dake also, the commander matters too, right? It's not just, ooh, look at he countered him with his list. There very much was some commander, generalship in that game that ended up mattering a lot. But great job to Cody for taking out that Ork mirror matchup. Always a chaotic game. Here's his 5th matchup. I believe he did lose this one as well. Interestingly enough, more Knights. So we have the Stalker, Brigand. Yeah, all these meltas would be an issue for the trucks and the Mega Nobz once they start falling out. Then we get War Dog Huntsman, 3 Carnivores, 3 units of Nurglings, and the Blue Scribe. So even potential to move block can kind of get in the way with an infiltration on this list. On top of the redundancy and melta shots and volume, you get to the little Knights, you might not even kill them reliably if you have a diminished Mega Nob unit. And they actually play the mission moderately well with how much OC they have and how many small units of knights they have. So yeah, he did end up losing that one. 68-point game, still a solid game, but he did end up dropping it. But after that, he made his comeback with a 100-point game into Custodes. So right here we got sad Custode noises, and there were sad after this game as well. So we have the Blade Champion, Trajan Velodis, 1 unit of Guardians, two units of the Grab Things, very reliable, very annoying, but good units overall. 2 units of Wardens, 2 units of the Venatari with the Lances. I think 1 is sufficient, but you know, whatever, because they just get that rapid ingress one, you know, for free. So it's just like, yeah, I'm just gonna, you know, I guess we'll just do that. I like Terminators a little more than 2 units of Witch Seekers. So yeah, you know, you run out of points real quick, and you can't kind of make these diamond bricks that are unkillable anymore. So Custodes are not as scary into Orks, and Orks did handle that, having the Mega Nobz making them take 4 up armor saves. And surprisingly enough, a unit of Guardians, when you put Artist Nails on the Mega Nobz, roll that out. They don't just one-shot the Mega Nobz unit, because the Mega Nobz end up getting moderately good saves. Plus, you have other Ork units on that list that are still going to be able to fight, deliver damage, and tank it, like the Squighog boys. And then you have the Nobz to run in and fight on death with Follow Me Lads. So that, interestingly enough, becomes a hard game for him. Him being the Custodes player, because it was a 100-point loss. Now, in his last matchup, he went. This is not the last matchup, I don't believe. Yes. Sorry, I still had some of the other lists up today. Getting rid of these. His last matchup was Gabriel. Oh, it actually is Custodes again, but this time it's 2. So this time it's 2 Blade Champions in Trajan Velodis, followed by 2 Grab Tanks again, 3 Wardens this time, a unit of Sagittarium. These guys are the guys with the guns. Witch Seekers, and then Inquisitor Greyfax. Greyfax is fine. I still think Kotiaz is even better. So yeah, as you can see here, Blade Champion is just excellent with his data sheet profile, and the Wardens are great with they can pop turn 1 for a one phase for a feel no pain, to stack that with all the other durability traits. So I can see why it's a little bit of a harder win, but the same thing's going the same way. You are kind of eroding them with a certain amount of damage, and you just have so many units that are now making them take 4 up invuln saves. Essentially, they start getting killed and kind of pulled away and torn down. So great job to Cody Drake. But that's something I like to see overall, guys. As we've seen in the meta, Orks are not stagnant in where they are and where they want to be. Orks can play with Snagger themed lists where you bring Zodrock, Wartsnagger. They can be played with Mega Nobz, as we looked over earlier, just so in case you guys didn't see it. This is actually the person who got first place with Orks at an event in Cheswick, Sweden, I believe. So this is the Buccaneers Open. This was his list. Again, Beast Boss and Squigosaur, Big Mech and Mega Armor, Captain Badrock, Mazrog, and War Boss. 2 trucks, 1 unit of Death Copters. Shout out to Happy Crumper. Flash Gates, 2 units of Gretchen, Commandos to stop people from infiltrating on you. Mega Nobz, Squighog boys. So this is a great mix of what we know was the meta units. We know Nobz are good. We know Flash Gits are good. We know Mazrog is good. We know the Beast Boss with Edwap's Kill Chop is good. He just said, forget it. I'm going to bring all of those units, find a way to fill them all on my list, put the Big Mech and Mega Armor there for the anchor with the Mega Nobz, and he did great. I'm not going to go over his matchups because tourney thing looks weird, but he did win all of his games. Okay? So that was just a dive into what this week, or this has currently been happening with the Ork meta, right? We have Nobz being taken on almost every single list. Remember, guys, with High Fleet Nexus coming out, with Space Marines now getting a bunch of different detachment abilities, they're going to be stacking different durability buffs. You have Leagues of Voltan on the rise. They have Armor of Contempt. You have Chaos Space Marines on the rise. They have Armor of Contempt. You have all these different factions that are now getting Armor of Contempt. AdMech has it, I guess, in their turn 1 in their deployment zone, but they're going to get a book. They could possibly get it too. The point is, people are starting to realize, as we've been discussing here for a while, is Nobz with Power Claws, with the volume, even though they don't have the minus strength that we typically want or see anymore, they still have a good enough strength with the volume of attacks, with the reliability of the War Boss, and especially on the WAAAGH, to scalpel out that enemy unit. They call Armor of Contempt, it's fine. I just get a ridiculous amount of volume of decent damage and decent AP punches into you. I can do sustained 6s to actually getting more volume into you and really take care of you. I personally really like the Beast Boss, right? But then you start looking at, man, Beast Boss is specifically for one kind of problem. You can pay a little bit more points and you get more resolves, more problem solving with this one scalpel unit of Nobz. Some people are starting to tech into having 2 of those units, and we can see why. So if you, I'm still into flash kits as a whole, but I'm not saying that they're everything, right? I'm saying I'm paying very close attention to, am I going to be bringing flash kits as much anymore? And I think that goes to your meta and where you find yourself playing into, and if you're really getting that utility out of your flash kits. If you're not playing them correctly, if you're not getting the lanes and killing people with Overwatch and getting that good trade, maybe you're getting kind of taken out too early with them. Maybe you start reserving them, coming in from outflank, stuff like that. So let me read some of your chat, see what you guys got to say back at me. Let's see what's up. Finally made it to life. Whoa! That's what I'm talking about. Yes, Tetras give full rerolls. That's why with Tau, it's very important that you close the distance on them in those first 2 turns. Have a couple units that can send back and keep playing the mission, possibly the Mega Nobz, as the rest of your Squig Hog boys and any other fast units start closing the distance. The Nobz get out of the truck and start killing stuff, right? Yes. So Tetras are very annoying. And they're giving the rerolls is exactly why you need to start getting rid of Town, destroying their screens before it's turn 3. So we got Rob Room. Getting a Mega Nobz back each turn is really nice with triple Big Macs. Rare people will melt an entire squad in one turn, especially if they come out together on the wall turn. Yes, that's very true. You get 1 pack. He can also heal 1. So if one's hurt, heal him, bring 1 pack. Boom, your unit's nice and almost full back to full potential. And they have the built-in invuln to shooting. Put them out in the open. Remember, we always have the built-in strat to go to ground to get an armor save even if you aren't in the open. It's disgusting. I think you're talking about the Tetras. Yes, it is. Yes, they can just be distressing as a whole if you don't close the distance. Battle Wagon plus Nobz. Gotta love it when they shoot 20 guns into the battle wagons just to give me 3-inch free movement. Great at clogging up lanes after they disembark too. Yeah, for sure. Also, it's a fun tank shock unit, right? You just run in, try to do mortal wounds with it. The fact that it has reduce AP by 1, and then you can give it cover, you can feel a pseudo version of how durable that Land Raider can be, guys, and why Space Marine players love it. So I'm all about the Battle Wagon, one of my favorite units as a whole. Can it be meta? Absolutely. I see people bring 2. I've seen people bring just 1 in a kill rig. The Battle Wagons are a totally sufficient way to play. Just because you don't see one on one of these lists all the time doesn't mean that they're not great, because they happen often. They show up and they do work. I tried out the SWAT team you were talking about a couple of weeks ago, 5 Nobz, 5 Burner Boys. Those Nurglings didn't stand a chance. Exactly what I like to hear, right? Because you don't really want to disembark to deal with something like a stupid Nurgling unit, right? You want to be able to kill it, then force the enemy to still pump the truck, still have the units, still play the mission. If people want to try to countercharge your Nobz, okay, maybe my Burner Boys will Overwatch. Probably not, but maybe. If not, they can screen and stand in the way. And if they choose to get in a fight, they do have AP as well. So it's great. I love it. What do you think would make Gaz better? Sweep attack. Sweep attack would make him better. I really don't like that he doesn't have a sweep attack. Another thing that would make him better. Oh, man, I don't think he has enough attacks, and he just seems very susceptible to dev wounds. But Gaz overall isn't like unplayable. I swear that he's not. We've seen him on other lists make an appearance. He's totally playable, but I really need him to just get some kind of a sweep attack would really matter a lot to me. And I could see him being someone that could have dev wounds. He doesn't have to have anti-anything. He could just have it on 6s. That would be acceptable. But when you see how big and massive he is and you roll 6 attacks, you know, you can drop 1 or just get kind of 6 and you go into kind of 3-up invulns that there are, the addition now, the 4-up invulns even. He could just bounce off people that he just has no right bouncing off of. And then he gets murdered in return, because even the most simple, devastating characters from the Imperium have anti-infantry or dev wounds in general against characters, or reroll buffs and precisions, and some guy for half his point cost can either devastate him or even kill him and get rid of Makari. So yes, I think he needs to get dev wounds, even if it's just on 6s. Wouldn't really make him anti-anything. It would make him too strong. And sweep attacks. Those 2 things would help him a lot, just because I really do need, when I'm kind of fighting, to get at least 1 of those 4 damage attacks in, and then hope that the other player rolls bad enough as a whole. And then another suggestion is if he could lead more units, right? If you could put him in a 20-man unit of boys, call them your Ard boys, your Scar boys, or something like that, your bully boys, that'd be awesome. Just why not, right? But he is only limited to Mega Nobz. So yeah, I don't like the limitations to a certain extent. What's another unit I don't like? Like the Big Mac, the one with the force field, he's limited to just boys, stuff like that. So yeah, that's just one other thing. But I still think Gaz is perfectly acceptable, perfectly playable, guys. I forgot I was still showing this weird display of my boy over here. Well, let me but yeah, I left him on. And you're like, what is this? Yeah, I know, right? This is how you look at this is the only way you can look at that leaderboard is through the Toll Keeper. And like I said, you can see that on Meta Monday if we go up here, right? We look up to Meta Monday and we see here's the Moab, here's the Orc list we just talked about. And then this is the Chessex Buccaneers Open. And right here it says, if you want to look at yourself, guys, Toll Keeper right there. So that's why I found it. Some of these lists, sometimes I go through Meta Monday. Sometimes I just find the list that I think look best. I always find my flavor list, but I feel like this week had enough flavor lists. And a lot of these lists had a lot of different matchups, like 7 games, 5, 6 games, stuff like that. So if we go real quick, just before I head off, just so you guys can get an understanding, don't limit yourself, right? There's been some people who join the Discord, start talking to me and start telling me, hey, I'm finding great success. I'm just using whatever I want to use. I'm using these different units and they end up being excellent. And I love hearing that because that's exactly what we want to do here. I'm not telling you run out and play this. I'm telling you, you can own half of these models and half of these units, these lists, and then compile them like we've seen with that one Orc list, even though nobody wants to see this. This is literally a compilation of what we know is meta. Besides the commandos, that's kind of a little bit new. But we know Squighog Boys, Storm Boys, Nobz, Def Coptus, I guess, Flash Gits, and we know Mega Nobz, at least in my opinion, were becoming meta and becoming interesting options. Beast Boss with Edwapus. We know these are all good things, but he ended up bringing it, finding a way to mix it really nicely, in my opinion, in the points and get everything he wanted out of it. Then we see someone running just, hey, try to shoot me, Mega Nobz list. We got Max with his kind of like a mixture of I have multiple war bosses for kind of playing a little bit of a truck spam. Instead of having commandos, I have Wart Snagger. I still have beast bosses and beast Squighogs for that durability in the mid table. And then we have, hey, I'm just gonna bring the Chungus, the meat, and just bring a kill tank, a kill rig, a unit of Squigog boys, 30 Gretchen to hold my backfield, run up the table with the beast bosses, and just try to fight you like a beast snagger. So we see that all of these ways are viable way to play Orcs, guys, and that's the whole reason why we do this. It's not necessarily to tell you to play the meta, it's to tell you to play while incorporating the meta and becoming a more efficient Orc leader, as we're going to talk about on Friday. Now that we've seen the Space Marine book, it's easy for us to kind of start assuming, or at least making educated guesses, and what our clans can start looking at, what abilities we can start assuming could come into play. That should be a very interesting conversations. So you guys can we might put out a community post for that way maybe you guys throw some pictures in there. Pictures, sorry, what the heck. Put some pictures, some questions in there, or maybe your own assumptions on things you could think could be in the clan. If you're not going to make it to the live, we can end up reading it, stuff like that. So this is going to be us talking about what units are maybe a bit more efficient right now going forward, and what units can get a glow up when we talk about what the Orc Codex brings, since now we're looking at, hey, GW is putting kind of some pattern recognition on these, right? You can almost guess what's going to end up coming in the Codex, because you can almost guess what each Space Marine faction was going to do, and they kind of did it. And Tyranids too. So that actually makes me excited. GW is doing a pretty good job. And I think Orcs are one of those no-brainer kind of factions, at least when you know what our clans want to do. We've been wanting to do what we want to do for multiple editions. John just said, when is the Orc Codex? I believe in spring of next year, or April, March, something like that. Don't know exactly for sure, but that's what I've been hearing, what I assume. So yeah, those were the lists, you guys. So like I said, Friday, we're going to talk about what's coming next for the Orcs, make some hypothetical predictions. As you know, I like to make my predictions. The predictions I made were the Mega Nobz were coming up, the Kill Tank rigs were coming up. What else did I say? Whatever. That Beast Snaggers weren't going to take over. That Nobz were very, very useful and very, very necessary, and more matchups going forward. They're my scalpel unit. So more people are going to start bringing them, and I'm not surprised. Okay. Advice for going for target prioritization going against CSM. So for that one, in my opinion, going into them is you want to start killing their scoring units, their small units that end up being cheaper, that have the maneuverability, right? Because units like Obliterators, they can actually use CP to try to bring one back. A big unit of Terminators, if they bring them, are going to have Abaddon in there. he gets precision out your character, he can end up destroying your kind of unit, and the Terminators can tank it with Armor of Contempt. If you try to make it to their gun line, like their Forge Fiend type of shooting kind of units, you might kind of get counter charge because they can also advance and charge with Abaddon in the distance. So playing around the kind of edges of the table, not getting it, because remember, Obliterators only have 24-inch range on most of their guns. Playing the terrain very well and killing their scoring units quickly, and then kind of encircling their Death Starry kind of potential is a way you can kind of handle them and kind of deal with them. It really does come down to, do you even have enough terrain on your table? How shooty are they? And which shooting platforms can they bring? You can see people starting to bring the Venom Crawlers now, the 100 points. They're a steal. But right now we see those Forge Fiend with their guns just right? So keep in mind, they have the ability to move, advance and charge, I mean. They have the ability to fall back and shoot. So tagging stuff isn't going to necessarily save you either. It really comes down to, at least when I played against them, my Nobz Scalpel unit came out, picked up an Obliterator unit as I could. My Squig boys outmaneuvered them and killed some of their other units. And then at the end of the day, their Terminator brick with Abaddon was running around looking for something to kill. And I just kept feeding him like bikers and grots and trucks. I wasn't even feeding him to him. I was just move blocking him essentially. So yes, that's what I would say with them. Any advice for Tau? Haven't seen it yet and worried for Orlando. So Tau is one of those factions that you cannot wait by just staging up and slowly closing the distance, in my opinion. Because once they get to turn 3 and they have the Tetras, they're going to just start re-rolling into you. They're going to start just putting so much damage into you that you will not be able to stand there. It does come into play as what terrain do you have? What is your list? Can it take it? When you get your trucks blown up, are you disembarking in the open, or did you wisely put them in a building to try to protect yourself? Stuff like that. What it is you do need to close the distance on them. Squig boys are still quite reliable. Make sure you pop that Artist Nails. Having the Fort Feel No Pain maybe on a Death Killer War Trike will help you, so you can close the distance like that. But they are going to have enough chaff to get in your way, and you're just going to have to blow through those chaff, maybe squig bombs, maybe grenades, whatever it takes. You're going to have to just shoot through that as quickly as possible between their transports and their infantry that gets in your way. Remember, they have the stealth suits. That's why I could assume some people are starting to take maybe Zagra to kind of push those units back, or commandos to stop those units from starting on the line in front of them and slowing them down. So it does come down to what is your list as well. As I showed today, we had that Mega Nob list that went into town. They handled a very efficient Tau list. Almost put up 100 points against him. But he also had a anti-shooting Ork list that was very like, hey, everything on my list is T6 or higher. So anything on Artist Nails, anything you throw your arms fires to is going to have a hard time. That could be another way. That's what I was assuming when I was saying Mega Nobs are going to be meta, right? It's not that you remove the Squig Hog boys. You just take less of them. You take less of the normal boys. You don't maybe take the Beast boys on foot. You take Nobs. You take Mega Nobs. Have great AP, have great durability, and you just run those people down. I think that might end up being the new way to play into some of these gunline armies. His guns are becoming more and more powerful. But thank you for the question, because I like when you ask me kind of questions, or anybody ask me questions, really. Not that I can give you the best answer, but I can give you the best ones that we know of, and we talk about in Discord all the time. Whoa! Thank you for that. I needed that. Whoa energy. I'm feeling myself, you guys. I'm pumped up. So yeah, and I'm pumped up for Friday. So let's get talking, let's get presumptuous, let's start thinking, getting our weird boy energy flowing, getting that WAAAGH energy flowing. Hey, what is coming in the Ork Codex? What can we make educated guesses about? We already looked at the Tyranid book. We've seen the Space Marine book. We can get ideas. We can start putting up together our big heads. All right. So yeah, that should be a fun, interesting conversation. Maybe start talking about, do we even care about the new Space Marines? Wink, wink. Are they a threat? Are they just fancy beakies? Like always, right? So I appreciate you guys. Hopefully some of these cool lists either inspired you or motivated you to keep playing the way you want to play, because that's what we're all about here. But there's one thing to keep in mind. Don't cross the wall, because we knock your teeth out. Whoa. Whoa. I always do that. Whoa.